My name is Daniel Ricard. I'm a project manager at PwC in the sales and marketing team for my day job. And for my gay job, I co-lead GLEE at PwC, the firm's LGBT network for gays, lesbians, and everyone else. And I also co-founded with Alicia Miller next to me the LGBT Networks about 2.5 years ago.
Awesome. So as Dan said, I'm Alicia Miller. My day job is I'm a senior learning and development manager for Reed Smith, the American law firm, although I think we're supposed to call it Global International Law Firm officially. I was also co-chair of the PRISM network, which was the LGBT network at Reed Smith, covering Europe, specifically in London. And as Dan said, we co-founded the Tnon, so the network of networks LGBT. So it's reported that a very high number of graduates go back in the closet when they're starting their careers. I find this a difficult question. I find it a difficult situation. I think I'm curious actually what the question was that was asked in doing this survey, because certainly in my experience, when you're fresh out of university, you're going into your first career or your first job, even you're not even thinking about career, you want to fit in. Would you really want to be standing out? Do you even offer whether you're out or not? You just sort of say, hello, this is me, I'm Alicia, please like me, whatever it might be. It's the first career that you have. There's also the school of thought around you can't be what you can't see, so perhaps if you don't see people around you that are obvious role models, that are obviously out, what does that leave you feeling? What's your experience, Dan?
I can't really relate to that question because when I came out of uni, I actually moved to London, moved from provisional France, and that's when I was able to come out, or I felt I was able to come out, because it wasn't the town I grew up in, so I don't really understand that question. So why is it important to be out at work? I actually disagree with this question. I don't think it's important to be out. I think it's important to be able to be yourself at work, and if that happens to be that you want to come out, that should be your personal choice. I think it's really important that a company creates a culture where you feel able to be yourself. What do you think, Alicia?
I agree. First of all, I think it is very important to be yourself. I think an organisation has to be prepared to provide signals to people, to invite them to be out, to invite them to be themselves, to be genuine, to be authentic. I know we say that word a lot, authenticity and being who you are. Whether you need to be out or not, I know a lot of people who are very comfortable in their own skin, but frankly they might not want to be skipping down the corridor with a rainbow flag behind them. They're just comfortable with who they are.
So why are LGBT networks so important? Networks are really important to help create an inclusive workplace and culture within the company. They can't do that in isolation. I think it's really important that they exist in conjunction with a wider diversity and inclusion strategy. And I think they can have different purposes. One is helping the members to be themselves, come out if they aren't potentially. It's a really good way to build your network when you join a new company, having access to different people across different parts of the organization, which you may not encounter in your day-to-day role. If you happen to get involved in the network, running events or leading the network itself, can be a really good way to get access to senior leaders, raise your own profile internally or externally, or even engaging with clients.
LGBT networks are so successful. They are important. They do so many things. I think what's useful to start is actually to share some experience and tips from both of us, actually. I think that's probably useful. We'll have slightly different experiences in our own organisations of setting up networks. First of all, for me, I think that the biggest thing was getting your stakeholders and your budget holders and the people in the business who others listen to. Talk to them, understand what they want to achieve, understand how they might support you. How would they offer some challenge and say perhaps why it might not work, it might not be a good thing, because at least then you're prepared to articulate your response. I think that was the big thing in my experience. as you start formulating what you want to do, having a mission, having an action plan, knowing what you want to do, what you want to achieve, and having measures against it was key. And it doesn't have to be sort of big, sweeping, huge ambitions. It can be just very, very small things. And then finally, just invite people to do what they're passionate about. Diversify. If someone is really good at talking to graduates, get them involved. If someone is really good about socialising and building a network, get them doing that. If other people actually are very, very focused on clients or customers, whatever your organisation does, get them looking at that. And I think that was my big learning when we were setting up at Reed Smith.
At PwC, for me, I think there was really 2 or 3 top tips that I've learned was just treat it like any other business project. Have a plan, have some deliverables, really do it so it's seen as a work exercise and not as a side thing that you do in your spare time, so it's actually something contributing to the business. The other thing I learned is be as visible as you can, whether it's internally on social media, internet, comms, just be as visible as you can. And even that externally, if your PR team allows it, that could be Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, whatever's relevant to your members. So why is there the perception that LGBT corporate networks might be more effective or successful than other diversity strands? I think it's really hard to answer this question. Perhaps it might be that as a community, the LGBT community is better at shouting about its cause than others, potentially. I also have the theory that we might be better at networking, but there's nothing that proves that.
I do think this is a difficult one. There is something around visibility in a less visible protected characteristic. It's not immediately obvious that everybody is LGBT or T, and that's the vast majority, certainly in my experience. So maybe we've just been shouting about it or being visible for that little bit longer. Maybe it isn't obvious why LGBT should be a consideration in the workplace for other people. And that's why we have to be able to talk about it more widely. It's hard. I don't know why we're so successful. Maybe we're just very confident at being out and open and telling people we're here. I don't know. Takes courage, takes bravery. I keep cutting you off. Carry on. What were you going to say?
Well, I think also successful is relative as well. Go back to the purpose of your network and actually what are you trying to achieve? I think that's a good way of measuring your own success within your organization. If you set yourself to do 3 events in a year and have communications once a month, actually go back to your initial objective, you might have been very successful.
So what is Tnon? Tnon is the network of networks, and there's nothing else to it other than it is an open forum, free to join, for LGBT network chairs or their representative D&I folk within organisations. As we said, it is open to anybody in that space, really. It is a forum for networking, for sharing best practice, for coming together and having a great breakfast. We do breakfast events. I'm a morning person, so that's the main reason why I pushed Dan to also be a morning person. How would you describe Tnon?
So yeah, I'm naturally a morning person as well. So we run about 4 to 5 breakfasts a year, hosted in turn by one of our members. And really we get typically about 60 to 70 people attending. And we reach today about 150 companies across sectors after about 2.5 years. So I would say we're quite successful in what we started.
Yes, we do a number of different things. So we'll have panels from various either members or, I guess, key people within LGBT in professional context. If there is a particular piece of research that's come out, we like to showcase that. If there are particular organisations that are working for LGBT in industry, again, we like to showcase them. One thing that we're very proud about is that we always have an LGBT charity showcase at each event. And it gives them an opportunity just to say what they do and ways in which organisations can engage with them. Anything else you would add?
No, I think that was a pretty good picture. So my top tips for being a successful LGBT network leader are, One, being a self-starter, really not being afraid to start something on your own that might seem really difficult up front, but actually never give up. Two is not being afraid to ask and be told no. If you find no on one door, just go knock on the other. And three, I think, is being good at networking and enjoying it. Really drawing on all the resources and help you can possibly get, whether it's comms, HR, your sponsor, just draw on as many people as possible.
So my top tips, courage. It does take a lot of courage. As Dan said, not being afraid to hear no. If one door closes, there's many others that you can actually open, and forcibly if need be. But you'll find a lot of them that are actually quite easy to open doors. It takes a lot of energy, so make sure you have some balance in your life. There are things that you need to be doing that's away from being in the spotlight, being a leader, whatever you want to call it. So making sure that you have balance and ultimately have fun with it. If there's one area you might not like, at least find something that you think is really good fun, because otherwise it's really tiring.
Yeah, I think you have to make sure as well there's something in it for you, whether it's for your career, your professional development, raising your profile, I think is making sure you get something out of it.
Mm-hmm.